Hi, I'm Brittany Evans, a graduate student at the University of North Carolina, Wilmington. I'm going to take you on my adventure identifying trees here in Wilmington, North Carolina. This journey will provide you with tips and indicators to identify the common species all around you here in town. I used the National Wildlife Federation's Field Guide to Trees of North America and iNaturalist Species ID app to learn more about the biodiversity here. This area is home to southeastern coastal plain forests and southern floodplain forests. We have a rich mix of coniferous and broadleaf species, and notably, we are a biodiversity hotspot for oak tree species. I would like to thank Connie Parker from the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees and Dr. Darren Pennies, Professor of Biology and Marine Biology at UNCW, for their time in helping me identify species and helping me to learn more about the biodiverse landscape in our particular region. Before we talk about specific species of trees, I would like to share with you the benefits of these trees. Trees are probably my favorite organism on earth. They are magnificent ancient beings. They are the planet's lungs and filters. Trees clean our air by filtering out particles. They also produce oxygen for us to breathe, which is very important. Trees filter the water we drink. Their large root systems will suck water up into the tree, then they release the water as vapor through their leaves in a process called transpiration. Through transpiration, the water is filtered and is pure water when it leaves the tree as vapor. Trees also are really great for shade. In the South, we tend to have very hot summers, and tree canopies are essential to keeping us cool. Especially in cities and areas with a lot of buildings, homes, and concrete, the temperatures can raise well above areas of natural land. You tend to see tree canopies in parks and affluent neighborhoods in Wilmington. But in the past few years, the city has worked with nonprofits and volunteers to plant and care for trees in areas without tree canopies. Hopefully, future generations will enjoy shade under the trees that have been planted recently. These are just some of the cool things that trees do. The two broadest categories you can break trees down into are coniferous trees and deciduous trees, or broadleaf trees. Evergreen or coniferous trees usually have needles on them and produce some type of cones. Evergreens are usually losing their needles continuously throughout the year, whereas deciduous trees lose their leaves in the fall when they produce bright foliage, and then their leaves grow back in the spring. Essentially, I use tree leaves to identify the species in Wilmington. I'm going to show you a few common deciduous trees before I move on and show you some conifers here in town. Six common deciduous tree species in Wilmington are the river birch, the southern red oak, sweet gum and swamp tupelo, the tulip tree, and the flowering dogwood. This is a river birch tree in a neighborhood called Mott's Landing here in town. I was hoping to find more of these river birch trees closer to the Cape Fear River, but they are very popular with landscapers because river birch trees can soak up a lot of groundwater. Their bark is very unique because it looks like it is peeling off the tree, and it has several colors that range from gray to salmon pink. This is a southern red oak tree. As I mentioned before, Wilmington is a hot spot for oak trees. Oak trees can be identified by their lobed leaves, as you can see here. Pictured here is a heritage sweet gum tree. Sweet gums are very popular in Wilmington. They can grow to be exceptionally tall, and their fall foliage ranges in all kinds of different colors. You can see this one here is a tree located in a neighborhood near Castle Street. It has a golden color, but the leaves can be purple and deep scarlet. It's a very beautiful fall tree. This is a swamp tupelo tree. I found this tree near the Flytrap Trail in Carolina Beach State Park. Pictured here is a tulip tree at Evanwood Nature Preserve. Evanwood is right outside of Wilmington. It is a beautiful hardwood forest maintained by UNCW. Tulip trees are very impressive. They're huge trees, and the limbs don't really start until you're near the crown, so it's just a towering trunk and an overall impressive tree. This is a flowering dogwood tree. Flowering dogwoods are often called American dogwoods. Their spring flowers are very beautiful. This tree was located in Longleaf Park. Six common conifers or evergreen trees in Wilmington include the longleaf pine, the loblolly pine, and the bald cypress. The southern magnolia and the loblolly bay and the live oak are actually broadleaf species, but I included them in this category because these trees are evergreen and they do not lose their leaves in the fall. The bald cypress is considered a deciduous conifer because it does change colors to a bright orange in the fall, as you can see if you go to Greenfield Lake right now. Live oak trees are a keystone species and a noteworthy tree in the South. They are part of our Southern heritage. You often see them draped in Spanish moss. Live oak trees are some of the most beautiful trees I have ever seen. My interest in this project was mostly sparked by an old live oak in my neighborhood that I tried to save. It was a centuries old tree that was eventually demolished and destroyed, which is a shame. With the development around town, we're seeing a lot of that, but we have organizations like the Alliance for Cape Fear Trees that are really doing a lot to work with the city of Wilmington to save these keystone species that are very important. Planting trees doesn't do enough for the biodiversity that preserving these century-old live oaks does. This is a bald cypress tree at Greenfield Lake Park. Greenfield Lake is an awesome place to see the bald cypress trees. It's just a forest all around the lake. You can walk the trail, you can go see a show at the amphitheater. A great way to see these trees is to rent a paddle boat or kayak or canoe in the lake. Maybe you'll even see some alligators. This is a picture of a juvenile and a very old longleaf pine tree. You see the juvenile there in the forefront and the older, taller longleaf in the back. These trees are a namesake for North Carolina. We are the land of the longleaf pines. They are recognized by their exceptionally large cones. If you see a giant pine cone, it probably came from a longleaf pine. This is a heritage loblolly pine in Pine Forest Cemetery. This cemetery is pretty close to Oakdale Cemetery, and they have a lot of the older heritage conifers out there. This is a loblolly bay tree. I love the summer flowers that the loblolly bay produces. You can see the fruit here in this picture in the center of the leaves. This loblolly bay is a tree that had fallen in the Carolina Beach State Park. Pictured here is a southern magnolia in front of the Bellamy Mansion downtown. Like the live oak tree, the southern magnolias are a pretty distinct and noteworthy tree here in our region. They are considered a part of our culture. These trees have beautiful flowers that smell wonderful. Some invasive species you're going to see around town are the Chinese tallow and the mimosa trees. I was upset to learn that the mimosa trees were an invasive species because I love their flowers. They have these whimsical pink Dr. Seuss looking flowers. They're really cool trees, but they are an invasive species here in town. As you can see, I have listed here some other species around town that are pretty remarkable in their own ways. The ginkgo biloba trees on Market Street are really stunning and incredible in the fall. Go see these trees. They're by New Hanover High School, and their golden leaves are just really exceptional. Eastern redbuds are a smaller tree you're going to find in the understory. This tree was in Longleaf Park. Red maples are all around town. Red maples like to hang out in the swampy regions, but you can find them from parks to backyards. They have beautiful red leaves in the fall. Water hickories are magnificent towering trees. Pictured here are the heritage water hickories at New Hanover Regional Medical Center and some very large water hickories at Greenfield Lake. Pictured here is a white oak. The white oak is part of the vast biodiversity of oak species we have here in town. You can see here the distinctive lobed leaf of the oak tree. Here is a bur oak I found at Greenfield Lake. The post oak pictured here is at Pine Forest Cemetery. Again, you can see those distinctive lobed leaves. Turkey oaks can be found all throughout the Carolina Beach State Park. These trees are distinctive to the southern region. This swamp chestnut was at Evanwood Nature Preserve. You can see the serrated leaves of the swamp chestnut. The American beech also has these serrated leaves. This American beech tree was also at Evanwood Nature Preserve. The mockernut hickory pictured here was at Longleaf Park. Crepe myrtles are a fan favorite here in Wilmington. This crepe myrtle is pictured at Longleaf Park, but you're going to see these trees everywhere. You can identify these trees by their really cool, smooth bark that has all kinds of different colors. In the spring, these trees produce beautiful flowers in colors from whites to dark pinks, light pinks. When you come over the bridge there in Carolina and enter Carolina Beach, these crepe myrtles line the side of the road. It's really breathtaking in the spring. This magnolia genie is near the ginkgo biloba trees on Market Street. I wish I knew more about this tree, and I really am going to find out more. It is a really interesting species of magnolia. Here is a heritage pond pine on the campus. It's in a parking lot at UNCW. This is an exceptionally old and large pond pine tree. Here's a heritage eastern red cedar at Pine Forest Cemetery. This cedar looked like it had been battered in some of the most recent hurricanes. This is a very old eastern red cedar. The American holly is a popular evergreen in Wilmington. This tree is usually planted as landscaping, but I found this very large American holly at Longleaf Park. It is a great deed to plant trees, but preserving the old trees pictured in these slides is the only way to secure the diversity of habitats in our region. Trees don't exist in a bubble, and they are responsible for many of the natural characteristics that we love here in Wilmington, North Carolina. Thank you so much for listening and viewing my slides. I had a lot of fun learning how to identify trees, and now I can't stop. Everywhere I go, I'm figuring out which species that tree is. I hope that you have learned some things from these slides that you will take with you and will help you identify trees around town. Thank you so much.